And in this chapter, I'm going to quickly run down the main JavaScript concepts that you need to know before you can attempt P5JS. In my experience, I've been tutoring P5JS to students all over the world. I'm an online tutor. What I've noticed is people who are trying to do P5JS are usually folks who are in some kind of an art institute or something like that. So not people who would normally have programming skills. So although I'm giving a quick introduction to JavaScript, please don't think that this chapter is like a full JavaScript course. I've touched upon the main concepts. I mean, JavaScript is huge. You can't learn JavaScript overnight. It usually takes many, many months. There are a lot of resources which you can use to learn JavaScript. So the main idea behind this video is for you to have a list of things that you need to focus on when you learn JavaScript, if you don't already know JavaScript. Okay, so I'll give a quick introduction about the main things you need to learn. Okay, if you're already a JavaScript programmer, you can easily skip this video. If you aren't a JavaScript programmer, then take notes. Okay, I've given a list in the video. Go back, go online, or hire someone to teach you JavaScript or something. And I've put some links where you can self-learn JavaScript. Focus on the topics which I have listed. Learn those things, only those things to get started, and then come back and move on to the next chapter. So that's what this chapter is about. A quick rundown of the main JavaScript concepts that you should know before you try to do any P5JS yourself. Thank you. As always, make sure you get the code from the GitHub link. I have put the link in the video description, of course. All right then, so as I mentioned in the intro video, in this chapter, I am very briefly, I think the description, the duration of the video is like 20 minutes or something. So just a quick introduction to the main JavaScript concepts that you need to be aware of before you can start doing P5JS. So you still need to go and learn all these concepts from another place. I have put some links in the description which can help you in that direction. But the idea here is to give you like a list of topics. For example, let's say you go ahead and hire a tutor, or you purchase some kind of an online JavaScript tutorial or something, and you want to learn, this chapter will give you an idea what are the specific things you need to learn quickly, and what are the things you need to know to do P5JS as a person who does not know programming. Now, the first thing you are going to learn, you need to know are what is called as variables in JavaScript. In the second half of the video, I'm going to show you these things, a quick example here and there. So first thing you need to understand is variables. And then you need to understand the concept of functions. In functions, we are talking about how to define functions and how to call them. There are two things really. So that is something you need to learn as well. You also need to understand how to use multiple script files. Now, you don't, normally, when we work on JavaScript, we always have multiple files. So again, that is something very useful in P5JS. You'll need to learn all the operators, not all of them, the basic ones in JavaScript for P5JS. You also need to learn how to use if-else, for loop, and of course, you need to learn how to use objects and classes. And also there are these random functions which are very useful when you're doing P5JS. So this is the whole list I am talking about. In the video, I'm trying to make it like a full screen or something. Hold on. I use PowerPoint occasionally. So I only know the basic things on how to do it, things here and there. Okay, I think I got it right. So there you go. That is the full list. So, if you're taking a book or a video course or hiring a tutor, show them this list. This is what you need to learn to be able to do P5JS. That's it. These are the things you need to know. The more you know, the better, but these are the basics. And as promised, I'm trying to give you like a a sample of what those list of things look like when you're trying to code. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating a duplicate of one of the projects so I can show you all those basic concepts, so that way you can see how these JavaScript items become relevant in a P5.js situation. So I believe I went ahead and made a duplicate of the balls of many that project, and I'm now opening it in VS Code. There we go. And I believe I'm doing a split window thing, so I can have the output, the animation on the right side, while I show you the JavaScript essentials on the left side. This is a common technique when you're doing JavaScript programming or any kind of programming. Keep your output on one side and keep your code on another side. Make sure you open the developer tools like I did on the right side over there. So now let's go ahead and quickly show you some things then. So first up, I believe I'm going to start by showing you how variables work in a P5.js situation. There you go. That's a variable. Okay, that's how a variable looks like. You have a variable called env, and that is happening right there in line number 9. Okay. And then again, background color, that's also a variable, bg color x, bg color y, and things like that. I'm trying to get to the definition. Now this is something which will work, and sometimes it doesn't work, other times, but I'm just trying to locate where that variable is created. And I believe the variable is created in a file called general or global variable. I'm trying to locate it. So there you go. I think I'm going to do a search now. VS Code has a very nice search functionality. And now there is another variable called real gravity. So what I'm trying to show here is how variables get created and how you can use those variables. So again, there another variable was being created. So there you go. Now I'm just showing you how to create a new variable. You have the keyword called var. But you'll also see me using a keyword called let. Now they are both valid. Var is old school JavaScript. Let is more newer version of JavaScript. But JavaScript is always backward compatible. So what was working previously will work in the new system as well. So you can use either var or let. But when you learn advanced JavaScript or something, you can try to figure out which one is more useful to you. But as of now, it really doesn't make much of a difference for P5.js. Use either of them, both of them is really up to you. So what I'm doing now is I'm just creating a variable, and I'm trying to change the colors and things like that, just to give you an idea how you can manipulate variables and immediately see the variable affecting the output on the screen. So I have created a new variable called new background. And now what I'll do is I'll try to find the existing variable for the background. So that's going to be bg color x. So I'm just going to search for it. So VS Code has a very nice search functionality. There it is. And what I want to do is I want to force the bg color x value. Previously it had a direct value, but now I want to manipulate that with another variable. So that's what I'm going to do now. So I'm going to go back to my file, get that new variable I created, make it available here. So now the bg color x is being controlled by the new variable new background color x. See, now what I'm doing is I'm changing the values, and immediately on the right side you can see that the background color is changing. So that's how variables work. You create variables to hold values and things like that. Now I'm going on with functions. Functions, how do you define a function? How do you call them? Now that is a function called setup that is being defined, and that's a function called draw. Again, that's a function that is being defined, and then you have a function called window. Again, that is a definition. Definition means you have the curly braces opening and closing, and you have inside a lot of other functions being called, other variables being created. And now I'm showing you how to create a brand new function. Now this is a function definition, and all it does is it takes two parameters, a and b, and they're just variables which are passed, so that's parameters. And then I'm trying to add the two numbers which are being received by this function. So I'm using the operators, the plus operator for adding, and the result is in the variable called result. And finally, I am showing the result on the console. So you can see on the right side, the moment I call this function, remember function you have to define it. That's happening in line number 12, and now I'm going to call it in line number 33. So I'm doing something like that. I'm creating two numbers. I'm giving it a value of 50. I'm creating another variable. I'm giving it a value of 100. And then now I'm calling the function add two numbers, passing those two values, and look at that on the right side, you're getting an output from the console log. So essentially what I'm doing is I've created a function and then I'm calling it. And the good thing about functions, and the reason why we use functions, is that we can call them again and again. So you'll notice that on the right side, I've called add two numbers 5 times. So I have the output from the function being called 5 times. And you can see that there are variables everywhere, and there are functions which are inside other classes as well. So that's what I'm trying to show right there. And when it comes to functions, we also use something called as a constructor a lot in P5.js. It's a special kind of function which is used to initialize values. Okay, so whenever you are creating new objects using these classes, constructors help you assign values very, very quickly. But there are other functions also, of course. A constructor is one type of function which is there, but you can create as many functions inside your class and objects as well, and you can call them. See, that is what is happening. Now you have the movers object, and it has a function called apply force. So you're calling the apply force function, which belongs to the movers class object. So that's another way we use functions. Functions inside classes, so they can be called as part of the objects that are created using those classes. And another thing about functions is that they will return a value as well, which you can catch on the target variable. So now you have a variable called temp gravity. So whatever is happening in create vector, the return value will get assigned to temp gravity. Now in JavaScript, assignment always happens from right to left. So whatever is happening on the right side, the return value gets assigned to the left side. Very, very important for you to understand that part. And that's all there is I'm going to show about functions. As I mentioned, I'm just doing a quick run through. This is not a JavaScript tutorial as such. This is more like just giving you an idea about the main concepts of JavaScript that is used frequently in P5.js. And now I'm showing you how we use multiple files in P5.js. In general, any JavaScript project, you will have multiple files being used. However, in P5.js specifically, you don't have to use multiple files, but you'll notice that all of my projects, they do use different JavaScript files to contain different things. For example, I have 3 files over there. Sketch.js is the basic file used for P5.js. That's mandatory. But then there is a file called global variable. As the name suggests, I put all my global variables here. So that way, all the global variables, I know that they're all in this one file. So it's mainly an organization thing that I do with my code. As a tutor, I want my files to be easy to understand for my students. So I like to organize them. And again, I use, the balls that are coming on the right side, they're all part of a class called mover. Now, because the mover thing is such an important part of the animation, I decided to go ahead and put the mover class in a separate file. So that way, if I have to edit the mover class, if I have to change things about the balls, the animation and things like that, I know that all the changes can be done in this single file. So the mover file will not interfere with the global variable file, and the global variable file will not interfere with the mover file. So it's a matter of organization, not mandatory, not required. If you want, you can put everything in a single file, but I strongly recommend it. Moving on to the next topic here, Operators. Now JavaScript has a lot of operators. For example, you have the assignment operator, that's the equals thing. You have the operators like plus plus, which incremental operator, decremental operators, which help you increase or decrease things. You also have things like, you can even call the word new as a new operator, which helps you create new objects. Okay, and you have comparison operators like greater than, equal to, less than, not equal to, and things like that. So these are the many operators you'll find in every programming language, and it is there in JavaScript also. Okay, so again, equals is the assignment operator. So as I mentioned, I'm just quickly running you through with all the basic concepts you would need to do P5.js. So I fully expect you to go and learn JavaScript somewhere else as you are learning P5.js also. So I'm just showing you. So again, previously we saw like things like plus plus, and we also have things like star equals and multiply equals and things like that. So all these are all operators from JavaScript, and you must learn how to use them. And there are a couple of sites I recommend when you're learning JavaScript. One website I really like is W3 School. I know some people don't like that website. I understand. I don't know why people don't like it. I have found it very useful, especially in the early days of your programming learning. Maybe it's not useful like right now. I've been doing programming for more than 10 years. For me, it may not be that useful, but whenever I get a new student, especially a first-time programmer, I strongly recommend W3 School to get started, to get started, like a warm-up. Now, a second option, a far better option, which looks much more programmy and things like that, and dull looking and stuff like that, like gray color and everything, is this free code camp JavaScript program. So it's almost like a boot camp. It's like a self-learning, self-paced kind of deal. It has a very interactive interface. Okay, so I would really recommend this. Use W3 School just to familiarize yourself, or you're just a beginner or a casual person. But if you're getting super serious, after a few days of doing some P5.js in JavaScript, if you're getting super serious, then yes, Free Code Camp is the ultimate destination for you to learn programming. It is free, it's open source, and of course the website will occasionally ask you if you want to donate some money, because it's an open source project. And if you have money, please do that. Okay, so there you go. Those are the two things I would recommend for you if you're trying to go deep into JavaScript, or even to just learn the basic things I have listed out in this chapter. So that is all there is to it about the operators. Okay, and I've shown you the two websites that I would recommend, depending on your preference, depending on your personal affinity. You can choose one of these two websites. Okay, and one last topic is in P5.js. I've noticed that we do use a lot of classes and objects. So JavaScript is an object-oriented programming language. You may have heard about it, object-oriented and things like that. So it is a fairly advanced concept, but you don't have to go deep into it in order to do as classes and objects in P5.js. So just a basic knowledge about how you can create classes and how you can create objects, and specifically how you can call constructors and class methods. These are the only things you need to learn about classes and objects. You don't need to worry too much about things like inheritance and garbage collection and things like that. Not at all. Just the basics, whatever I have put here in the demo projects, just learning them is good enough for you to do your own objects and classes when you start remixing these projects and things like that. And also, of course, classes have this special function called constructor. You'll see that a lot anytime you're using classes. Constructors help you assign values. That's what they do. They help you assign default values when you create brand new objects. So there you go. As I mentioned, it is a lot to take in, but hopefully I have given you a quick list of JavaScript concepts that you need to learn, hopefully from a tutor or from some kind of a self-paced learning like W3 School or Free Code Camp and so on. So there you go. That is all I wanted to explain. Okay, so there it is.